Hey, it's Dr. Karin. Getting divorced is painful. I know, I've been there. It can leave you feeling hollow, torn up, powerless, and totally lost. For many, it's one of the most painful experiences they will ever have. It's a tremendous loss. In today's video, I want to share my thoughts on divorce, including some of the deeper spiritual truths that many overlook or don't want to hear. If you've ever experienced divorce and found it hard to move on, this video might change your life entirely. Let's get going. First, I'm going to tackle something that is contrary to what I was taught. I was raised in a church family. We went to Lutheran church and then Church of God, and it was very hardline, right or wrong, black and white. There was a lot of stuff that was called a sin. That was a reason that we were going straight to hell. Well, in my spiritual awakening, I've completely transformed the way that I see God, that I see sin, that I see heaven and hell, and you can see that in some of my other videos. But right now, I just want to address what I have come to believe about divorce. And it's contrary to what the King James Bible teaches and what the church teaches, because in the church, divorce is a sin except for in certain instances. Now, I believe that the Bible, although it was inspired by God and written by apostles and men and prophets and all of these people that were really trying to do their best, it has been retranslated and retranslated over time. Certain books have been taken out by governments and churches. So I do believe a lot of the Bible's content and Jesus' teaching is really here to amplify our power and help us to live loving lives. I don't believe that the part that is all about us feeling bad about ourselves, ashamed of ourselves, scared of hell, was inspired by God. Because the God, the source that I have come to know, I call God source now, because I believe that God is a source of ever-flowing, unconditional love, and that we don't have to go to a pastor or a preacher or a priest to find that God source love for ourselves. We can funnel it directly through us by asking for a dose of it every day and throughout the day, and what it feels like is love. God, in my opinion, is actually a source of energy, an energetic flow of love that is running directly to us. So I'm going into all this detail because I want to communicate to you that divorce is not a sin that is condemned by going to hell. Divorce is a decision that you or your partner has to leave a relationship that is no longer in alignment with your soul. Divorce, in my opinion, is a soul-based decision. So I'm saying that because I believe very much in energetics. I believe in energy. I believe in soul contracts. I believe in alignment. And I believe that we attract partners that align with what we're emanating at all times. And when you unite and you become married, you are an energetic match. So for instance, you may align with someone very, very well and you have a few good years or months or decades or whatever it is. But usually one partner very often will start growing in a certain direction. Often someone's had an awakening or they start growing and they start going in another direction spiritually, and they start expanding certain sides of their life, and that means their alignment then is going to excel. It's going to change. They're going to grow in a different way. If the partner that they are with does not grow in that direction, it can still work, but you both have to be committed to your own work. When the relationships get skewed in such a way that one soul is growing in a direction that aligns with some force that is, just in a different frequency, and the other person maybe has chosen to re-engage with other activities or engage with something new that is in a different vibrational point than where the other person is going, you're going to have a tremendous disconnect, and the alignment between the two people is off. So I also believe in soul contracts. So when you come into this world, you actually have already kind of predestined. Now you still have free choice, but you've predestined possible partners that you have, lovers, spouses, every relationship that you have in your life. You've actually agreed on a soul level before you enter your human body to interact here. And now I also believe in past life. So I believe that often we're in soul contracts that are resolving old karma. Often when you're in a really painful relationship, that's karma that's kind of being repaid from other lifetimes. So that is in there too. So when you're looking at this from a spiritual perspective, there's so much more, and I'm getting chill bumps as I'm saying this. This is really important for some of you to hear. This is so much more than just looking at the relationship as it is in this very 3D world, right, wrong, signed a marriage contract, very black and white. This is a soul agreement on a spiritual level that has many layers, many quantum fields, many probably lifetimes that you've already experienced with this person, likely in different roles. And you are trying right now, as we're going through the Great Awakening, we're equalizing, we're trying to harmonize ourselves. And the way that we're doing that is through relationships. So if you've had a very painful experience experience that's caused a divorce or that's led to a divorce with somebody, very often you are satisfying and harmonizing karma. And as you're moving forward, the way to get through that is to heal that trauma wound in you, heal that energy, that energetic block that you have of low vibrational fear and shame and guilt and energy, so that you can move forward more highly activated, because that's why you came here. You came here to grow as a spiritual being. And the primary place that you're growing is through relationships. They say to find out more about yourself, get into a relationship, because they're always going to trigger you. So when you go through a divorce, a breakup, a separation, it is because you are no longer in spiritual alignment. And very often that is because the soul contract between you is complete. And that can be your decision or the other person's decision. And I know that there's complications both ways. But if you can find a way to resolve yourself as you're growing, as you're evolving, and to look at this from kind of a cosmic perspective and see that it's so much bigger experiences and conversations and text messages that we tend to focus on, if you can pull yourself back up and more of a bird's eye view of your relationship, of what happened in the past, you come to a place where you get into more self-mastery. When you're able to look at the relationship as an observer, and I love spirit animal energy, so hawk is my spirit animal, and whenever I see a hawk flying in front of me or find a hawk feather, I know that spirit is telling me to fly up to a higher place and get a more of a bird's eye view, get a perspective that's not so laser focused on those conversations and those bad moments, but you instead can widen your lens and look at, wow, like we are on a soul journey here. I'm not responsible for that person. They're not responsible for me. I'm responsible for my own vibration, my own energetic essence. And therefore, as I'm looking at this, I can appreciate that I was in soul contract with that person, as wonderful, as painful as it was, to learn the lessons. And then you move into the next stage, which is, what was that here to teach me? What was that here to teach me? A very important part of healing after the divorce, and I know I've been there. I've been in all the modes, all of it. I've left. I've been the one that's left. I've been through all of it. That's why I love doing what I do, because nothing surprises me. I get the feelings of all of it, and I can have so much compassion for you. But moving forward, it's really important that you choose to go out of the energetic essence of feeling like a victim, and that is when you're blaming someone else, you're pointing a finger at somebody else, and you literally, and I've seen this with people, they carry that victim mentality, oh, this happened to me, throughout decades of the rest of their life. And literally 20 years later, they're still reacting based on how somebody hurt them 20 years before. And they're letting that person and that experience have power over the rest of their lives. And they never open their heart again. We do not want that to happen to you, because guess what? You're gonna have to come back here and repeat it if you didn't learn it. I got news for you. That kind of stuff on a soul level gets repeated. So let's make the choice right now for you to learn the lesson. Look back and say, what was that here to teach me? It usually is a lesson in letting go, in surrendering, in trusting the universe, and in returning to source within you, which always feels like love. Finding that self-love within you and growing as you move forward instead of holding anyone else responsible. Because here's the thing, life isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. So every one of these experiences, and this is a beautiful thing, this isn't anything to do with blame or lower consciousness, pointing fingers or shame or anything like that. You chose that on a soul level, even if you were betrayed, even if you were, I hate to say it because this is sensitive, even the abusive situations, I can say it because I've been there. I look back and I'm like, wow. You know, when I was in an abusive relationship, I know that that's because of an imprint that I had in my mind based on what I saw my mom go through. And I agreed to being in a relationship where I was being physically abused. I thought that was what was meant for me, because that's where my self-love was. That's where I was emanating. So I attracted a partner that agreed on a soul level that that is what our interaction would be, so that when I ended up growing and going out of alignment with that, and I ended up growing and was left the relationship, I can look back and say, wow, like I would never attract a partner like that again, because I went through that, and maybe that was karma being played out as well. I can say full-heartedly and with my full soul, I would not be who I am today had I not gone through that. I would not understand the human condition like I do today had I not gone through that. Do we have to go through that horrible stuff to grow? Hell no, you don't have to go through it. But what I have found on my soul journey is those of us that are here tasked to have the most ascension, that we're here at a very high assignment, incarnation, We actually have some of the hardest life experiences that involve these very traumatizing experiences because our soul is really ready to crack wide open and not only heal those trauma wounds within us, but heal the wounds of generations of ancestors that came before you that agreed to the same kind of treatment. And you're here to alchemize that and to transform it into something that is super powerful moving forward. So know that when there's a divorce, when there's a breakup, you're never being judged. You're not being sent to hell. That judgment and guilt is coming from people. It's coming from ourselves. It's coming from the 3D plane of human conditioning. It is not coming from God. When you go to the other side and you return to spirit form, there is no list of how many times you were engaged or married or not married or divorced. There's no list about it. You're going to go look back and reflect on, what did those relationships mean to me? What did those relationships do to help me grow? How did I evolve as a spiritual being on this planet because I went through those experiences? And that is a beautiful thing. Next, I'm going to cover one final really important piece of information that is counterintuitive to what the church may have taught you. But before I get there, if you like this video, please go ahead and like it, click the like button. And if you want to hear more information on spiritual truths, subscribe to my channel so you get the latest videos when they come out on YouTube. Back to the video. So one of the most primary things that I work on with clients and that I've had to work on within myself is this idea that you're supposed to stay in a marriage because of the church and the vows that you took on the altar and or because of the children. I can tell you right now, if you're in an unhealthy relationship that has gone way out of soul alignment, that has become toxic and unhealthy for you, that is causing sickness in your body, that is causing you to shut down and become a former shell of yourself, and all those negative things that you are feeling in a miserable relationship, you were not meant to martyr your own happiness and your own health to stay in a relationship out of guilt or obligation because of the church and because of the children. You were not. You were here to have a life full of freedom, joy, love, self-love, ease, flow. That is your innate birthright as a spiritual being here. No matter how many times you said I do on an altar and signed contracts, it doesn't matter, my friend. It doesn't matter. I can't tell you the number of times I've worked with clients where they stayed in the marriages and when they finally broke and left because it was so toxic to their well-being, but they were staying because of the kids who very often had become adults because they waited for decades to leave. The kids turned around and said, Mom or Dad, like, thank you. Why did it take you so long to leave the other person? Because oftentimes that other person, that other spouse has agreed to whatever it is that they've agreed to. They've become toxic because they're not happy with themselves. They're exhibiting abusive behaviors. They're being maybe narcissistic or toxic, and the alignment is off, and your kids can feel that. And they are learning how to love themselves and how to be in a loving relationship by watching you. And when you're in a relationship that is that lopsided, you're putting up with behaviors, you're choosing to tolerate and allow yourself to be treated poorly, your children are watching you and they're learning, just like I did with my mom, that that is what they deserve in their own life too. And they will very likely, unless they have their own healing journey happen and evolve beforehand, they will very likely pick partners and experiences that mimic what they learned from you. So it is not up to you to fulfill some obligation. It is up to you to fulfill the obligation to your own soul, put your own happiness, your own soul's evolution in front. And in that instance, divorce is a very, very healthy choice out of a toxic situation. So in all of this, I hope I've convinced you that divorce, and I'm not encouraging divorce, I'm not like a big divorce fan. I love healthy relationships when souls are in alignment and when you can work things out and both partners are committed to growth. I want that. Don't we all want that? That is such an amazing union when it happens. So when divorce is actually the healthiest thing for you, you can move into a life that feels so much more free, so much more unburdened from all those negative experiences. You can let go of the guilt because you understand from a spiritual perspective that we're all here on our own evolutionary journey, and sometimes soul contracts are up because you're no longer in alignment with them. And then you can go forward, have your own healing experience, and go into a life that is more magnetized to you on a higher level and attract a partner, or go out on your own, whatever feels right to you, living a life and attracting experiences and opportunities that match the self-love that you have reclaimed for yourself, that have matched your knowledge now that it is your birthright to be happy in your life. Because when you're at that vibrational point, your energy field will not tolerate that negative behavior again. You'll see it and you'll know immediately it's not a match to you. And that sets you up and makes space for people, friends, future lovers and partners that come in as an energetic match to you. And that can build a healthy relationship from the beginning where you both grow. So if this information really resonated with you, but you're really having a hard time, like with your self-confidence, getting through the divorce, like you just want a little bit more guidance, I have a brand new program that's called Worthy that is completely focused on getting you back to a place of self-confidence and self-love so that you can go and activate the life of your dreams. Click the link below to get all the details.